Hey everyone, I'm Sophie Lynn. Welcome to my channel. We're here at HK and we're back with Mr. Teague and we have a new firearm to show you today, the HK21. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to allow Mr. Teague to introduce himself and talk a little bit about what he does with the company, and then we're going to show you the weapon, and then we're going to take it out to the range and fire off a few rounds. Ready?
Let's do it.
Alright, let's go.
Hey everyone, I'm Jesse Teague, Senior Engineering Tech with HK. Been with the company about 12 years. You've seen me in other videos with Sophie. We've had a blast on the range before. We're going to do it again later today. We've done some fairly prolific firearms for HK. We're going to look at another one, not so prolific, but no less special. Let's go take a look.
Awesome.
So, we've got, like Sophie said, the HK21. This harkens back to a video we did previously on the G3. This gun is based off of the G3. Started development in about 1961 as a light machine gun, and it was based off of the roller delay principle that the G3 was running on. When it started out, it was more or less a belt-fed G3, and over the years it has evolved into what we have here, which is the HK21E1. Which is more light machine gun than G3. It's got some features in it that make it more of a belt-fed light machine gun type weapon versus an assault rifle with a belt feed mechanism. And we'll go ahead and take a look at some of those now.
Oh, you can. I'm gonna grab the camera so we can take a closer look.
Awesome. All right, so a little bit of history on the gun. Again, it was designed in the 1960s, early 1960s, as a evolution of the G3 rifle. And if you look at those early guns, and they're called the HK21A, A1, they look more like a G3 than this gun does. They look a lot like a G3 with a belt feed mechanism and a little bit different going on up front here. As the gun evolved through both user input, end user input, and just experimentation at HK Obendorf, a series of changes were made. And the gun really evolved into what we have here. This is the last version of the gun. This is called the 21E. And it is more belt-fed machine gun than rifle converted to belt feed. The reason it came about was there's a lot of countries that didn't necessarily want a dedicated heavy or medium machine gun. They wanted something a little bit lighter, something more along the lines of what their soldiers were fielding as an infantry rifle, and the G3 at that time was very quickly becoming very popular. The M14 was sort of going out of favor at that point, but the rest of the world was using either the G3 or the FAL. If you were a NATO-aligned country, you were using either the G3 or the FAL, and that was pretty well it. There was some other stuff sprinkled in there, but they were the two big dominant guns. HK is, as a rule, was trying to, again, make a family of weapon systems based off of that system, that roller delay system. And so this was one of those. The other developmental sort of child that came out of that was the MP5, not long after this gun. So that will tell you how far that went. But as far as, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it, as far as the 21 goes, it has a lot of the same characteristics as the G3, but where it differs, obviously, is this guy here, which is our belt feed mechanism. And this belt feed mechanism is different from almost everything else out there in the world. 9 out of 10 belt-fed machine guns load from the top. They have a feed mechanism on the top, and they eject out the bottom. That's sort of the standard way that the world has settled on making belt-fed machine guns. And if you guys have been in the military, know and probably love the 240, the M249. Our guys overseas know that as the Mag 58 and the Mini-Me. But this gun is different in that, again, it's fed from the bottom, and you actually, when you load the belt, you actually load it upside down. So normally on a top feed gun, the with the old brass toward the grass is how you remembered how to load the belt in correctly. This is opposite. The brass face up and the link is down, and we'll see that on the range when we go and shoot. It also uses, you'll see that there is no feed pawl on this gun. When we did our video on the MG4, we went through a little bit on the feed mechanism and how the belt-fed machine gun worked. And you'll notice that there is no feed pawl and there is no feed arm on this gun. It's done through a series of wheels and pawls. So the way that this works is it feeds from sort of the bottom up, and it does that, it accomplishes that with a series of wheels. Some people call them Geneva wheels, and this is what actually physically moves the cartridge in the belt into place. This is your bullet stop, and then this is a cartridge stop and a bullet guide. This basically acts as a slight feed ramp to get the round into the chamber. There's a cam system underneath the bolt carrier, and that's what drives the wheels here. There's a whole lot of very intricate mechanism that is beyond most belt-fed machine guns, and it works pretty reliably. These guns tend not to have a lot of problems. These, when they do break, it's kind of a clockwork, as you can tell, but they don't break very often. You tend to have to abuse them to break them. So the other thing that makes this a little bit more defining is the quick change barrel. So the reason why you have to change the barrel overheats. If the barrel overheats, you more or less lose the temper of the barrel. And there's a term called shooting out the rifling. And you can actually, if you run a machine gun long enough, you can literally shoot the rifling out of the barrel. So that's the main reason you pull the barrel and let it cool. So generally when a machine gun is issued, it's issued with at least 2 barrels, and they're swapped out as needed. As you're running one barrel, the one is sitting in its carrying case, or it's sitting off to the side to be cool. So yeah, so let's put the barrel back in, and the barrel changes that quick. It's that quick. The gun's locked in. To change the barrel, we'll go over this a little bit more on the range, but to change the barrel out, the bolt has to be to the rear. So in this case, it's to the front. It's as if it was getting ready to fire. If I try to change the barrel, can't do it. So bolt's locked to the rear. Hit this button, release it, push forward, and out the barrel comes. And then same thing, return it. Locked in, and it's ready to go. One of the other neat little features on this gun, it prevents you from actually chambering around without a barrel in there. There's a little locking mechanism in here, so if I try to pull the bolt handle forward, it's not going to go. The barrel has to be in there. You'll notice this cutout, this whole housing has got an MG42 feel to it. And let me move this barrel. And there's a reason for that, because the barrel comes out in exactly the same manner. Now the 42 has an arm on here that you hit and the whole thing swings out. That wasn't really, because of the size of this system, it's a lot smaller cross section here. That really wasn't gonna work well. This gun has a bipod on it. The G3 does have the ability to put a bipod on it, but it's a much lighter bipod. You'll see this one isn't quite as heavy as something on, say, like an M240 or an M60, but it is significantly heavier than what is available and mountable on the G3. The other neat feature with this bipod, or the gun as a whole with the bipod, is you can actually mount it in 2 different spots. So here it's mounted in the traditional forward position, but if you were going to run this gun, say, in a pillbox or some other kind of emplacement where having the bipod up front isn't going to really work well for you, you can actually remove it. There's a spring-loaded clip under here. Rotate it off. And then you spin it around. And now it's mounted on the rear. So now your bipod can be mounted or set up in your emplaced area, and the front of the gun sits out. And so you have a little bit of extra sort of versatility with the gun. The other thing that this gun can do is, because it's designed as a light machine gun in this guise, you'll notice this stud here. There's one also on the other side, and this is designed to mount into the standard German tripod mount, the heavy machine gun mount. So the same mount that was used during World War II as the Model 34 Lafette mount. was continued right into service just like the MG3 was. Eventually just changed caliber, but that mount still persisted through and is still used today. The current MG5, again, HK, it fits into that same mount. It's a very good mount, it's a very versatile mount, and that's why the Germans have pretty well stuck with it since the 30s. One of the other things little neat little features this gun has, obviously it's a belt feed mechanism. We looked at that here just a minute ago. One of the things that the Germans are known for is their assault drums. That's one of the terms that you've seen since the MG34 days and the MG42. This gun is no different. It's not a drum though, it's a box. And the box is this little guy here. It actually clips into the bottom of the feed mech. It will hold a 100 round belt, so a standard length belt, and it's basically mounted in like so. So it sits on the bottom of the feed mech. You can still use the feed mech as designed. When you're on the tripod, you can actually still run the feed mech as designed with the box attached. And it's as simple as taking it off, as simple as hitting this little lever here, where my thumb's at, and it comes off, and that's it. And you can run it with a naked belt, you can run it with the box. The benefit of the box, like all of the drums, is it keeps your belt out of the dirt. One of the banes of most belt-fed machine guns is dirt in the belt. It's a problem for belt-fed machine guns. And it would be a little bit more of a problem for this gun because of the sort of clockwork mechanism that is in the feed mechanism. It's a little bit more susceptible to that. That said, it doesn't seem to have an issue pulling vast quantities of belts or vast quantities of ammunition strung together on a belt. Way back in the 80s when they used to demo this gun quite a bit, one of the things that they would do, some of my predecessors back then would do, is they would string up 400 and 500 rounds on a belt, and they'd lay it out and they would run it nonstop. And it was showing you two things. One, the superior quality of the HK barrels, which we are known for, our cannon grade steel. It's no joke. But also the ability of this feed pawl to pull all of that weight. If you've ever held 400 rounds of 7.62, you know how heavy that is. Well, the gun has to be able to pull that. So this gun has no problem doing that. So it's a very reliable system. It's a little quirky by comparison. The manual of arms is a little bit different compared to all of the other belt-fed machine guns out there. But that said, it's a very good system. I like it a lot. I like shooting it a lot. One of the other things with this gun is it's a pretty high rate of fire. This particular gun, we've had it clocked at about 1,200 rounds a minute. So Sophie's in for a ride on this one. But again, if I didn't think she could handle it, I wouldn't put her behind it. Not in a million years. But it really is a blast to shoot. I think she's going to enjoy it. I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well. All right, so when you load the 21, it's different from every other belt-fed machine gun in that there's no top cover. It's a solid receiver. So the way you load it is the feed mech. So normally under firing, it sits like that. It's clipped in, and it controls the belt. To load it, you hit this latch here, pivot it down, and you're going to load your belt. So to load it, you're going to go ahead and slide the belt through and make sure that the round is sitting against that feed ramp there. And then at which point you'll go ahead and you'll charge the weapon. And you'll see the belt move. The gun's ready to fire at that point.
All right, so we're out here on the range with our HK21, and we're gonna let her rip. This is gonna be cool. I'm really excited. This thing shoots amazing, and I'm really looking forward to showing it for you guys. So the first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna show off the single shot, and then we're gonna do our burst rounds, and then we're gonna flip it over into full auto and let her rip. So let's go.
Thank you guys so much for watching our video. This has been a fascinating weapon, and I would like to thank HK, and I would like to thank Mr. Teague for the time and the expertise sharing it with you.
You're very welcome.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed it, we have more HK firearms in the library as well as on the way, so toss a like to the video, oh viewer of plenty, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back with some more stuff and some more action on the range next time. See you!
See ya.
Steamy gun barrel ASMR.
Right.